So, okay, debunking the myth that men don't want to date moms, right?
Yeah.
You're about to say, well, little boys, they don't want to date.
Yeah, I'm not talking about okay, like there's a certain point where men become more mature and they want to settle down, and that pool of men, I think,
Want to settle down with a single mom?
I would say that pool of men aren't just as discriminate. They might be okay with it.
I don't doubt that you're able to find men who want to date you or hook up with you or even marry you, become the stepfather of your children. However, but I think looking at it from just a optimizing, if there was you and then an identical version of you that didn't have a kid, do you think most men would pick for your?
It may not be most, it may not be the majority of men, but there's still a decent amount of them.
But okay, let's say there's an identical version of you, but without a child.
No, I think some men like.
Some men.
And I'm also basing this on I you know what I do, and a lot of men are attracted to me for that reason. They like the MILF status.
Seriously, I had two friends in college that were super into MILFs, so into it, they wanted nothing to do with girls their age.
They're into older women, or they're into MILFs. Those two are different things.
Just the fact that you, a lot of attraction comes from a subconscious idea of reproducing, right? So a woman who, a lot of women or a lot of men are attracted to women who are curvy, right? Because they represent being able to bear children, right?
So you're saying because you've given birth to a child before, that means that you've demonstrated your ability to bring a child to term?
I'm assuming that maybe that's why guys like MILFs, because they
It could be.
It's not clear to me.
I just want to point out one thing. I would be not that there aren't good guys out there that would love kids because they just like kids and they just haven't had their own, but I would be suspect if I were a single mom and a guy was went out of his way to be yes, that's what I want, and is proactively going for it. I'd be I don't want my kids to get touched against their will. So I would be careful.
Also, another thing I'd like to say, you're 35.
Oh, I don't. No, don't get me wrong. There's no men coming in my house.
But
yeah, you have to be careful.
No,
with
it. Where I'm at now, I would be fine if I was even single for the rest of my life, and I just was a mom.
Well, can I ask, because your situation's a little bit different because you're a widow. Do you think that plays into it? Because a lot of people, I'm engaged to a guy with a kid, so most of it is dealing with the other parent. So because you're in that situation, they don't have to deal with another parent. Something very tragic happened to you.
Right.
That's a good point, because I definitely think one of the reasons why either a man or a woman wouldn't want to deal with someone who what's the term? The
other parent.
The other parent is one. There's always that risk of reconciliation, and then two, okay, what if the fucking ex is psycho? So I think you are in a very unique situation, a fairly unique situation, because you're a widow. I think that does make it different, but I don't think that excludes, for example, the concerns when it comes to, you've got the kid, and then there's some financial concern, financial component to that.
I think some men just like it because they want to be the hero and come and save the day for me. Or something they can provide. There's no father.
I can't save
I need
you.
to come
The
in.
hero complex.
Maybe that's it.
Captain Sava.
Mr.
Yeah, literally.
What is the benefit of, let's say there's an identical version of you that didn't have a kid? Why would a guy pick the woman with a kid?
Just looks wise identical? Because I'm a different person as a mom than I was before I had children.
I don't see there's no real benefits that I'm aware of.
If someone likes me for my personality and
but I'm saying you have let's say there's an identical version of you. One of them, the identical version, does not have a kid. Why would someone pick
a guy who has no kids specifically, right? Because usually,
or even a guy who does have kids.
Well, usually you do want to date other parents because like they understand. It's just.
Okay, fine. How about the guy who doesn't have kids?
Okay, the guy who doesn't have kids. I mean, unless he's like has like a MILF thing, he probably would go to the kid, the non.
He likes
but you're saying you wanted to debunk the myth,
providing, hardworking. Those are some things that you have more of because you're a mom.
But you said you were wanting to debunk the myth that men don't want to date moms, and I would say generally speaking, for example, I think a lot of men who don't have kids would prefer to not date.
Yeah, a lot, but not all.
But then it's not really debunking the myth.
It is.
Is it a myth? I don't think it's a myth. I think it's true that most people, men or women, who don't have kids would prefer to date someone who also doesn't have kids.
I'm not.
Is that a myth?
I'm not.
Or is that true?
Yeah, I'm just not seeing that in my life.
Well, wait.
And in other people, because I just know so many people. Way before I had kids, I noticed like.
Have you been doing much dating though? I'm trying to recall your answer. I don't think you've been dating much, have you?
I'm not, but like, even though I may not want to date people, they have wanted to date me.
Well, wait. So have you actually gone on dates with these people, or they just want to go on dates with you?
No, yeah, like.
Or do they just want sex from you, which is probably the more realistic thing?
No, like for example, like people who know me through friends and and found out that like I moved back to like my hometown and stuff, and they know I have a kid, this and that, or they know we have mutual friends, and then they're interested in meeting me or getting set up with me. Like I'm not looking, but it's coming to me. In other words,
so
I was
guys
on a
are
dating
DMing
app.
you. So guys are DMing you. Like you should not confuse. You should not confuse like sexual attraction for relationship attraction.
No, they were not trying to just hook up. Not these guys.
Like they're pursuing
yeah,
you.
but let's not ignore the fact that
they're
men,
like trying to be.
Let's not ignore the fact
that
that men will lie about their intentions to sleep with women.
But these are like really grown men. I'm talking about.
Let's not ignore the
wait,
fact
that's
that really
another
grown
thing I
men
wanted
will
to
lie
say.
about their intentions in order to sleep with women.
Okay, but there is a big maturity difference between like 18-year-olds and 40-year-olds. Okay, I mean when you're 40, okay, not always, but I'm just gonna say when you're at a different, or if you were at a different stage of your life when you're 40 and you want to get married and you haven't, had kids, haven't been in a relationship, and you'd probably want to get married unless you don't want that at all.
Vermilion wants to know: did they commit?
Who?
He's a chatter. He's in the chat.
Did who commit?
These guys.
These guys.
I didn't want to date them because I wasn't ready.
Okay, fair
so
enough.
wait, what use is attracting a person if you don't want to date them, though? I wouldn't want that.
Well, they're people that are propositioning you, right?
You also get to know them,
That's a factor, but I mean, like, I was assuming it was because you weren't physically attracted to them. That you didn't want to date them.
No, I just emotionally wasn't ready.
Oh, okay.
And there's also that, but sometimes you get to know someone and they're not the person that I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't.
Well, and also some guys can't have kids and they want to be a father.
That's true.
That's another
some
thing.
Some guys like
saying.
that you're mature, you're hardworking, you make sacrifices for your child that maybe if you weren't a mom you wouldn't make. It can indicate or can be an indicator of some of those traits some guys might think.
Yeah, I've just known so many people who, it's like, I found out that they got with a woman who had kids and they didn't have kids. I just know so many stories about
Being
that.
a mother is feminine, and if someone's a mom, she probably has some of those feminine traits. She does because she's showing you by the way she's a mother. A lot of guys are turned on by a good mother. I would say that.
And vice versa. Like a lot of women are turned on by a good father.
Yeah.
I can tell you I had one experience with a single mother, and we had gone on one date, which took forever to schedule. And then on our second date, she, 10 minutes before we were supposed to meet, said, "My teenage daughter is having a issue. Sorry, can't meet you."
How old was this woman?
But some guys like when you play hard to get
She was
on accident.
Because you're in your 30s. You're dating a woman with a teenager?
I think it was...
so she was in her
She was
40s.
a teen pregnancy.
I think she was like 39?
Okay.
A bit older than me. But like canceled on me like 10 minutes before we were supposed to meet. So, I mean, and that's the furthest I've ever gone, like with a single mother. I've heard some pretty bad stories from men where it's like, okay, there's an expectation. Well, I think one of the other big things that you often hear is eventually down the line, there's going to be an expectation, if you're in a relationship with a single mother, that the single mother is going to expect the guy to provide, not just for you, but for the kid. And so that adds like sort of a double duty to provide for a child that's not yours. The issue with that, though, is there's all the responsibility, but none of the corresponding authority. So a woman who's a single mother, she might expect you to provide, but she might not she might not allow you as the guy to have any authority over the child.
Is that something you would want?
Well, I wouldn't date a single mother, but it's, to me, if you're going to be responsible providing for a child, you're going to step in as a stepfather, you aren't given authority over the kid.
Was the date that you had with the single mom before you decided that you wouldn't date single moms?
I mean, I'd always been kind of hesitant, but I was like, I guess I could give it a shot. And I mean, it basically just confirmed some of the things I had already kind of thought about. I'm in a position where I suppose you could say I have other options where there's plenty of women to date that don't have children, so I'm not like in a situation, at least in my age cohort, where it's like, man, it's kind of tough out there in terms of options. But to bring it back to what I'm trying to remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, you don't have authority over the kid. Like most single moms are not going to like allow you to discipline their kid, but they will expect you to provide for their kid. So it's all the responsibility with none of the authority.
But wouldn't it be responsibility to have to parent a whole child? Isn't
that
responsibility?
He's saying a lot of responsibility, but not authority to go with it. Yeah, that may be the case in a lot of situations. Not all. Like,
Would you expect the guy to provide for your daughter?
I have a hard time even imagining like letting someone live with us, let alone provide for us, because I just.
Well, it's plausible you could, at some point, if you do get into a relationship with a guy, some point there'd be an introduction, and then maybe after a year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe you guys get
if I'm
married,
already financially
stepfather status.
Right, but if I'm already financially independent on my own, and then they come in, what am I going to do? Just stop working, stop making money, and just be like, okay, now it's on you?
That might be the case for you, but there's definitely single mothers out there that are going to expect a new man coming into their life to have some, maybe not immediately, but down the road. And actually, there are some single mothers who have an expectation that the guy start providing instantly. For example, you hear these stories of women wanting men to pay for the babysitter, like on the first date.
Yeah,
that's
pay for
another
dinner,
reason
but
to
don't.
not.
Yeah,
a guy might not care about that though if he has a lot of money and he didn't care about.
Yeah,
if he has a lot of money, he has better
kid.
options probably.
But maybe he likes her enough over the other women. That does happen. That's
Perhaps.
why people
It depends on if
with
he
children.
offers versus if she demands, right?
If he's like a traditional man or has some traditional values and likes to be, most men, like the kind of men that I'm attracted to, they enjoy being the provider. So and they would probably like want me to not do OnlyFans.
Are you a traditional woman?
Deep down, I kind of am, but I don't, not fully.
You do.
But I'm not fully. I mean, like right now, like I'm single.
No, but I mean, simply by virtue of you doing OnlyFans, I mean, aren't you in essence not a traditional woman?
I'm not fully. I have some traditional values.
Okay, sure. That may very well be the case, but should a guy
like my lifetime before I did OnlyFans, which was, a while, a long time. I never did anything like that, and I was always loyal, and we lived like in the country and wanted to have a bunch of babies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like stuff like that, but
sure,
things have changed a little bit, as you can see.
Okay.